Danny Flexon here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by Joe Gallagher. Probably in a much better mood than the last time we spoke, I would imagine. Great news. Callum Smith's finally got the fight he's been clamouring for a long time. Well deserved against Canelo Alvarez. Although we shouldn't forget, of course, he is the champion going into the fight and not the challenger, despite the way the names have been ordered. How long from when it was first talked about to agreed did the whole fight take to put together?
I'd say around 18 months, believe it or not. I think the first time Canelo mentioned Callum Smith was before he fought Hassan Nadam in New York. And we had to concentrate on our fight. He beat Hassan Nadam. Then also went quiet, and then there was rumours possibly of a fight at some point. But then Callum had his rematch. Not rematch, his mandatory with John Ryder. Canelo then obviously set his sights on Kovalev. Then after that, then we were in Arizona on the Chavez-Jacobs bill, and with Liam Smith, and I managed to sit down with Eddie Reynosa. We had a good chat, and he was adamant that he really wanted to try and make the Callum Smith fight in 2020 this year, and he did want to try and do it in May. Obviously, you've seen then in the new year, there was talk about it became a two-horse race with Billy Joe and Callum then, didn't it? And Billy Joe got it, but then there was a pandemic and everything shut down. Then it reopened and nothing really. Callum Smith then was on about possibly fighting in December by the end of the year. And then Canelo had these litigation problems with Oscar and DAZN and all that. And then we thought, well, there's no chance of Canelo this year. So we made a short list of opponents and started looking at them. And then all of a sudden, that cleared itself up. Obviously, at the time, they were calling for Canelo versus Yildirim for the WBC. We thought if Canelo didn't and got involved in contractual disputes, he'd be out of the picture. So Callum most probably might fight Yildirim for the WBC. But then all of a sudden, like you say, it's like the waves parted. Canelo became free, and we started the game very much like Floyd did with Amir and Madonna, and there was Caleb Plant, and then there was talk of Yildirim, then Callum, and then Truax or whoever else is in the frame. And like I say, negotiations started, and then we woke up the other morning and Canelo's put out, he's making an announcement, and we're all like, announcement about what? Nothing's done or signed, no contracts are signed, and we just thought, shit, he's bluffed us and he's announcing the Plant fight. And even, I've said it a few times, even like at 6-7 o'clock in the evening, Callum's lawyer Sean, we were going through contracts, different things. Sean was on to people in America at DAZN, Sean Palmer, the lawyer over Matchroom in America, and they were still working on it at 10 o'clock, 10:15, half 10. And we still weren't 100% convinced it was done until we heard it out of Canelo's mouth. And that's how close to the wire it was done. So it was like we all were then pleased. I don't think anyone slept for a while. And then we came in the gym the next day like as though it was a hangover. And this went straight back to work. And that's it. And it's just mad. And what I've got to do is, as I've said in numerous interviews, you've got to give full praise and credit to Callum Smith. I see people out there saying he's ducking this one. How can you say he's ducking? He went in the World Boxing Super Series to fight the best. At the time, that tournament had George Groves in it, Chris Eubank Jr. in it, Bramer in it, good fighters in it. And Callum went in there to test himself and came out the world champion. He had a defence against Nadam, who beat Martin Murray. Then he fought John Ryder, his mandatory. Then he's always wanted the big fights. Canelo's the big fight. And he agreed to take the fight with 32 days' notice. Tomorrow, he has his 30-day checkway. He flies out 3 weeks tomorrow. So, huge credit to Callum Smith. He could have said, you've got to remember, Callum's the world number one at 168, and he's going fighting the pound-for-pound number one. Callum could have said, I'll just wait till the crowd's next year. I'll wait till there's a crowd in. But he hasn't. He's gone, no, let's do this now, because there's no guarantee next year that there is got to be crowds next year and other champions and let's wait till next year or let's wait till this. Fair play to Callum Smith for going, nah, we'll do it and we'll do it now and I'll take my chances, and full credit to him. Especially And it's great for him, but it's hard for a trainer because we're in a pandemic. We can't fly over sparring partners from America or Europe. And really, the source pool that we can pick from, an ocean of talent has gone down into a pool. So we've got to do the best that we can do. And Callum's usually confident if we get the right kids in for sparring now that we're going to win. Listen, Canelo most probably knew 8-10 weeks ago it was Callum Smith, just like Mayweather. But that's the power that the big stars have. But what we got to do is sit and wait all the time. No, Callum, fair play to him, huge credit to him to show everyone, I'll do this, and we'll do it on 4 weeks' notice.
Now, you mentioned Canelo having a short list, but you can tell us now that the Canelo fight's been agreed. Who was on Callum's short list for December?
Not saying.
It was worth a try. Can't blame a guy for trying.
Oh, no, that's...
What's Callum's weight like at the moment? A lot of people saw the picture in the gym. He looked in incredible shape, certainly chiseled, but huge, absolutely huge.
It is. It's everyone, when Callum was getting ready for all these fights, everyone comes in the gym and sparring and go, what weight's there?
Yeah.
And I say, Callum, step on the scales. And they go, wow. And I go, see, there's no problem with him. There's no problem making a weight. Callum can be out of the gym for 2 months, 3 months, and walk back in at 13.2. It's not a problem. He's like a freak of nature. So there's no problems with the weight. He's huge. And I've said there's a couple of things to this fight for Callum. One, I'm a bit sad about because he isn't got to have the huge Canelo fight week. There's no jets to a press conference to America. There's no jets back to London, Liverpool. There's no fans phoning him up, getting tickets, all that type of stuff. Fans, Scousers taking over Dallas, Vegas, wherever it's got to be. There's none of that. So I feel a bit sorry for him in that sense. But the other sense is he's not having 10 weeks of it. What sometimes it can drain a fight at a time the fight week comes around. He's having 4 weeks of intense on it. Now, we know DAZN and other people, and you know, Danny, media, they want content, they need video clips, they need this. Well, they're trying for 10 weeks stuff in 4 weeks, and Callum's got to do the best that he can. But every second of every minute of every hour of every day for the next 30 days is very important for Callum Smith. I want the best Callum Smith. I want the George Groves Callum Smith. That Callum Smith beats Canelo. And we've got to try and accommodate everyone. There's contractual obligations to be done, and he's got to try and do it. So, like you say, he's got to try and do it. But I do feel it only being 4 weeks and intense and everything else could be a good thing for Callum.
Now, you say you want the best Callum Smith, and that's the one who was who so impressively beat George Groves in the WBSS final. What's the difference between that Callum Smith and the one who fought, for example, John Ryder, which a lot of people are using now on social media as a kind of precursor to the Canelo fight, however inaccurately? Is it motivation? Is it knowing who he's fighting and how that gets him up for it?
Yeah, it's very much like Ricky Hatton used to say, when you're fighting an opponent, you're fighting an opponent. When it's Costa Tszyu, you're running, but you're running with a bit more intent, a bit more thing. You've got to look at Callum Smith's resume when he first turned professional. His 7th or 8th fight, he fought Patrick Mendy for the English title, 1-round blowout. He was then involved with a local derby in Liverpool, packed out Echo Arena, 1-round blowout. After that, then, against Rocky Fielding, after that, then, he fought for the European title against a kid that had just gone 12 rounds with James DeGale, 1-round blowout. And then through the tournament, we negated our way through it, got to the final, pressure's on, and he delivered. Then he fought Hassan Nadam, who's come off beating Martin Murray. But the thing was, the pressure was on. It was a big stage. It was America. It was Madison Square Garden. Chief support for Anthony Joshua performed. Then, no disrespect to John Ryder, you come back and you're John Ryder, and everyone's going, oh, you're fucking Callum. Rocky beat him. Billy Joe beat him. Jack Arnfield beat him. It was John Ryder's FA Cup final as much as this is Callum Smith's World Cup final coming up now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And Canelo never really mentioned Callum Smith or an interest in the fight till after the John Ryder fight. And sometimes it takes a bad performance to entice the top to take you on. So in a backward way, the performance of John Ryder may have helped Callum Smith get the performance over Canelo. And in that fight, people can say about John Ryder, Callum won 116, 112 twice, 117. He beat him better than Billy Joe and Rocky did. And he obviously had the 2 massive cuts under his eye, and his hand went in round 5. I'm not making excuses, but he still dug in and found a way to win. So, listen, it's disappointing we haven't had a fight since then. And people always say you're only as good as your last fight. Well, that'd be it. But if you look at Callum Smith, was saying the same thing after he fought Nicky Holskin. Oh, we only couldn't do him. But I said to Callum, just win by the jab. He set a world record for jabs in that fight, in a world super middleweight title fight. And Callum said to me at round 9, I'm bored. I went, don't you do anything stupid and get involved, because kickboxer, elbows in, split eye, you're out. Stick, box, box, box. And that's how you got to do. Now we're here. Do you know what I mean? 8 years from his debut to the day he announced it, he's going in against the best in the world. And he's got a chance of becoming the number 1 pound for pound. You only got to look at recently of Teofimo Lopez with Lomachenko. You've got to Usyk coming through, Terence Crawford at the weekend. There's a new wave coming through. Your Mayweathers, your Pacquiaos, they're all beginning to move on now. And these young kids that are coming through are wanting to take over. And Callum Smith has a huge opportunity to take the pound for pound number 1 title off Canelo. And that's a motivating factor for him. And anyone that's been up against Tobias Webb was a good win for Callum Smith at the time. It was a good test. So all the test fights where people think, not sure on this, he's come through. Do you understand? So yeah, everyone has an opinion. They're entitled to it. But as much as people say that, we know the Callum that's got to turn up.
What gives you that level of confidence in Callum in this fight particularly? Canelo's obviously an incredible fighter, but is it Callum's size at super middleweight? Is it his style and as it relates to Canelo, or a combination of both?
I think I don't think size is a massive thing to do with it. You've seen that with Canelo and Kovalev. You've seen Canelo and Rocky Fielding. Tall kids, a bit of a bread and butter for Canelo Alvarez. I think being in against him with Liam Smith, and I don't think Liam Smith got the credit for the performance that he did against Canelo Alvarez that night. He had good success. He had moments in the fight. He landed cleanly on the night, and he caused problems. He just didn't have that power to inflict any damage, you understand, but he performed very well in the stuff that we worked on. So we've been around the Canelo fight week. We know what to expect, the presence, the rushing of the scales. And I think, not necessarily more size, but I think Callum Smith's got a good boxing brain. He hits hard with either hand. He's got good straight arrows. And for a tall kid, he fights very well on the inside. I think the problem is for Canelo, how does he go about fighting Callum Smith? Does he come out like he does with Rocky Fielding? Or does he think, you know what, I'll slide off slow like Kovalev and come strong down the straight? It's up to Canelo to decide what he goes to do. I think he's the one that's should get involved early and drag Callum into it and run the risk of getting caught. Now, it's very... People have bombasted me if we catch him, we'll take out. Callum's got the power that if he catches you, and he's got the finishing ability to take anybody out. But you've just seen Canelo fight Triple G. Nothing wrong with his chin. But he's been pro 15 years now. And sometimes constant tapping sometimes may crack a rock. And how many times in boxing have we seen someone go, oh my God. And you're hoping, praying at things. But I just think Callum's got good all-round boxing ability, got ring craft, savvy. And as much we have how to win, Canelo's most really thinking, how am I going to get past them long arms without walking on the short arm work? Do I want to drag Callum Smith into, is he got to come out like Rocky Fielding or like a Hagler Hearns and try and drag Callum into a 3-round shootout? He backs himself that well, and he's a bit of a thrill seeker, Canelo. He likes the adrenaline rush. You see that with his cars, his challenges. He always wants to fight the champions. And he could easily have picked a soft touch for Christmas, but he doesn't. He wants the belt. So, yeah, he's training hard. And, yeah, I think it's a very, very interesting fight.
Do you think Callum's the biggest puncher Canelo will have faced as a pro? Not pound for pound, overall.
No, I wouldn't say so. You look at Kovalev, the big puncher he is. Triple G's a huge puncher. I wouldn't say that. But what I say is... maybe Triple G hits hard with both hands. Kovalev, good jab, good right hands. I think Callum hits hard with a number of shots. It's not just a left hook or right uppercut. His left uppercut's very hard. His right hook to the body's very hard. He hits hard with all types of shots. And like I say, both fighters can hit. It can be over this as quick as it can start. And I think Canelo, he'll be a bit careful early on, or I think he'll try and feel a few of Callum's shots on the shoulders, get a gauge for it, and then think, nah, fuck it, I'm going for you. Or we'll just have to see. But Callum hasn't got to worry about that. Callum's got to have Canelo worry about him. Callum's got to go in there and treat Canelo like, right, George Groves, right? Do you know what I mean? I'm confident and I'm going to beat you no matter what. Do you understand? Whatever you've got, I'm prepared for. And if you want to hit me, but I'm going nowhere. If you're hitting me, I'm hitting you back. And maybe a bit like a Margarita Cotto, we've got to go in there with that demonic, hellish mentality that we are not going to get beat and we're going to absolutely, you can throw whatever you want, we're going nowhere and we've got to keep punching back, and that's the path to it. We cannot allow him set his tempo, his rhythm and pace of the fight.
I was at that fight, the first Margarito Cotto. Fantastic. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, great fight.
It was a great performance. Obviously, there's a cloud over it now. Yeah, exactly. It's a shame because it was a great performance, but yeah, there's a cloud hanging over it now. Something a lot of people are discussing, I'm sure you've been asked about it already, is the fact that Eddie Hearn made that off-the-cuff remark about no more fights for Joe Gallagher fighters or whatever it was he said. And then maybe a week or two later, Callum Smith's got the biggest fight of his career. What do you make of all that?
Listen, in my news, it's like chip shop paper news now. And it's like, at a time, I said in an interview, I apologised for what I said wasn't finger. And I got what I wanted out of it. I found out that Sky haven't cut the money given to Eddie Hearn, so they're still in the same money. And I was trying to flush out why the reasons the fighters weren't getting dates. MTK managed numerous fighters that are trained, so that's for them and Eddie Hearn to sort out. And the fighters like Callum Johnson, Marcus and Sam Hyde, Marcus accepted a couple of offers. Like I say, it's all old news now, and Eddie say he's not working. Well, he didn't say he's never working with me. That's one thing that no one's picked up on. He just said he's just not working with me at this moment in time. So that's it. Maybe he was a little bit touchy that week. It was his book being released or whatever. But like you say, we know what's going on, and Callum's got a huge fight of an opportunity, and I'm sure Eddie Hearn wasn't going to pass up and try to make that fight, help make that fight. And
everyone's speculated about this, but I don't think there's been a formal announcement yet. Is it likely to be on DAZN in the UK, or do we not know?
Well, from what I know and from what I read and what's out there, there's supposed to be a launch of a DAZN app in December, $199. That'll give you, I think, Callum. I think it'll give you Triple G. I think it gives you Garcia, Campbell, and that's it. I think, but that's all that I'm replying with there is all that I'm reading as well. So that's it.
Would you like to see that? I mean, the only issue I would say is that with it being a new app and a launch, this is a great fight for them to launch it with, but if the take-up's not massive straight away, it's a smaller audience potentially to see Callum's big night.
Yeah, no, definitely. I do feel, I think they've got one or two shows planned from what they're saying before that, so that the first couple, they can get, we don't want it crashing, all the type of subscriptions and it crashing and everything on the phone. We've got 2 or 3 fights to try and sort that before that. So we'll see. And like you say, Danny, it's no one wants to see that. Everyone wants to tune in and everyone wants to watch it. So it's whatever it is, 200 countries, territories. It's a mass opportunity for DAZN and for a lot of eyeballs to focus on the fight. So I'm sure they'll want to be not having countries crashing, satellite links, or however that's the side works of it. But that's it. And especially for the fans that can't go over while there's a lockdown and travel and everything else, everyone's got to want to tune in. I think it's the last Saturday before Christmas. Everyone out shopping. There's lots of sport that day. I think Liverpool are playing Spurs, or there's big sport over in America. So there'll be huge competition. So it'll be no good trying to launch an app and then they're getting technical and it crashing, because it'll just shoot themselves in the foot.
I like your optimism about everyone being out shopping. Let's hope the lockdowns are definitely over by then.
Well, or online, and hopefully no one crashes.
Might be online shopping. Yeah. On Canelo's side, is there a rematch clause? Because that's usually a thing with the top stars.
Yeah, as far as what's in the contract, I can't say what's in the contract. That's it. If Eddie Hearn wants or Canelo wants to talk about it, that's down to them. So, yeah, we can't talk about contracts.
Presumably, regardless of what's actually in the contract, if it does go Callum's way, he'd be delighted to fight Canelo again anyway, because any fight with Canelo is huge money.
Yeah, of course it is. And listen, we've all talked about it long enough. I'm sure Callum wins, he comes back, he's in the driving seat, and he's going, right, the rematch. When it's there, it's in Anfield. Well, like anything, everyone would want to be showing that, whether I'm sure the Middle East most probably want to show that, just throwing that out there, or whoever I think it goes out. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, but Callum would be in the driving seat then, I'd assume, and he'd most probably go, right, it's June, July, or Cinco de Mayo, but you're not having Cinco de Mayo, you're having a British bank holiday May fight over here, and it's at Anfield, and I think that's what Callum would really be wanting. But there's no point talking about that yet. We've got to beat him first and get that win.
And talking of that win, before we let you go, I want to press you for more of a prediction. You're obviously backing your man, but how's he going to get the job done? Is it going to be a wide points decision? Is it going to be a late stoppage? What do you anticipate?
Well, you can't go over there to try and get a points win. It's a Canelo matchroom show. I've asked about the British Boxing Board of Control being over there, strong representation for rules meeting, stuff like that. And I'd also like to think that we could get some British officials involved in it, whether it be the referee, Howard Foster, Victor Loughlin, somebody like that, or like you say, or a judge. I know over there it's Vegas, you do what they do, or in Texas, or wherever it's going to be. But I would like some representation from the board there on the big event to give Callum. You can't go over there expecting to win on points. So the only way that we have to win and take it out of the judges is to try and get the stoppage. Many have tried, and no one's done it. So it's a huge task, but that's the mentality. We can't leave anything, and then if we don't get the stoppage, we've got to leave it in a way that we've won, and they can't do us.
Great stuff. Well, I can only wish you the very best of luck. I'd really like to see him pull it off, as I'm sure most British people would. And
yeah, and the thing is as well, Danny, I think Callum's the type of kid as well. He's a laid-back kid. He doesn't go into social media. He's not into trash talking. He's just a solid kid. And I don't. He's like a crawler. I can't find one person that doesn't like the kid. And I'm sure you've seen the response to the fight. All fellow professionals, all wishing him well. And I'm sure, like you said, the whole country will be behind him. It'll be an unbelievable occasion and an unbelievable achievement in pulling it off.
At $199 a month, I think we'll definitely all be behind him.
Yeah. I don't think $199. What does that get you now? Was it 2 Mars bars?
Yeah, probably. It's all in Freddos. You've got to do it in Freddos, haven't you?
Freddos. All right. Okay then. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, yeah, always a pleasure. I'm sure we'll speak again before the big night. But best of luck with the rest of his camp.
Yeah, cheers, Danny. Thank you very much, mate.
See you soon.
Cheers, mate.